Yo, what's up guys? Time for the LD4 tier list. I'm gonna do it slightly different than last year, or also slightly different than the other tier list, because this is more of a classifying tier list of where can they be used and how good are they at it, rather than it's like A is a lot better than B. However, I will use left to right for kind of organizing what's better. So the further it's on the left, the better it is. Looking at the tier list of last year, I did put everything PvE and PvP together. This time around, I'm going to be more focusing on saying like, okay, this is a PvE unit, this is a PvP unit, to kind of make the distinguish between that. If it's OP and build multiple, then I would say it's a unit just for siege. Like most of the time, if it's building multiple, it's a siege kind of related thing. Some units are going to be both PvE and PvP. In that case, I will put them in the place that they shine most in my opinion. So without further ado, let's get into all of these units. So first off, Chami is one of those things I would say is niche for PvE, and niche for PvE pretty much means only in solo R5 team where you have to team up because she has the S1 branding kind of style. So niche for PvE. I would say Kamiya is going to be, can be used, but it's a damage dealer with like sleeps and that kind of stuff. It used to be niche for PvP. You can still kind of use a sleep team in that, but in the end, the fire version of that simply does do better. Then we have the, I think it's called Ikasha, pretty sure, yes. Is also niche for PvE because of the Katarina team. So Katarina, this is one of the few units that has like a perfect AI to give Katarina her invisibility, and it's used for an R5 team, but it's more niche than anything. Tarnisha is, I would say, niche on the side of PvP. Can be used in Siege, can be used in RTA. If you do have a Ragdoll, it becomes a lot more interesting in RTA. But it's more of those niche units to kind of give your Leo or Ragdoll a torrent hit, and that's about all of the usage that you actually do get out of this unit. This one is not really commonly used. It does have like the AoE damage kind of shenanigans, but it does have a speed lead. It can be niche for PvP, but it's not really commonly used at all. Ashubel, I would say niche for PvE, and that is mainly because of like TOA Hell, TOA Heart, well, I would say TOA Hell, COA, those kind of things, but it's more niche. I would say, yeah, just that. Like, if you go into Spire's TOA on Dark, then sure, this unit is really good. Outside of that, there's easy units to actually replace him. Then we go into Kung Fu Girl, and she's definitely a prio build for PvP. She is still decent for some of the defenses out there. Personally, I still use her next to my two LDs, which are Nephthys and Sienna, but there's a few builds out there that you can still use her. Is she particularly really insanely strong at the moment? No, there's definitely a few other units that do better, so she's going to be further down the right later on, and therefore she's also not a build multiple, but I would build definitely at least one. Main common build for her is speed, HP, Fio plus whatever, and then high additional damage artifacts. Faye is also one of those. It is good to build one, but it's also kind of like, I'm kind of in between niche and actual good. If you do have unit, well, it's kind of too RNG for my liking. Like, sure, I've seen a lot of people kind of try her, but I'll give her this. Like, she has more potential than some of the other units. But yeah, she's still one of those units. She's just super, super RNG. It would be nice if her S3 starts up with at least an ignore defense on whatever you target, and then just lower random numbers for the ignore defense on the other hits. But now it could be something crazy good or something really bad at all. So for that reason, I'll just put her over here. Most of the time, it's just like some speed, crit damage, attack kind of build that you want to place, or attack, crit damage, attack. Could be rage. If it's on defense, it's mostly Vio in that kind of shape or way. Mihail, I would say, is niche for PvP. It's one of those units that does have a defense buff and a healing. It is okay-ish, but in most cases, an Alaya would just do so much better. So it's kind of a siege unit, but it's not really a crazy good siege unit. Icarus, I would say, is... well, the only person that I actually do know using this thing is Obabo, and he makes it used to decent to good extent. But outside of that, I haven't seen anyone use it. So if you have really good runes for it, then you kind of need a snipe unit on Icarus, then... yeah, it's kind of fine. It's mostly triple HP Swift build on the build that you want to do. I'm gonna place Dove here because it still has some potential. But you want to have a lot and a lot of HP on this. Probably Swift was the build that you're aiming for. Do I place it more towards the left? Yeah, I would say so. Between those, yeah. Then we have, I think it's called like Aya or something, or Arya. I think it's Arya. So I would say is a decent unit for 4-star siege, but that is about it. Yeah, I would kind of say it like probably like this. So can be built on this pair, is not really that great, but it can definitely help you out in some scenarios. Figaro, I would definitely say good for siege defense, but I would say only siege defense. His main common build is going to be violent and just like speed HP, or speed attack HP, or anything along those lines. Could be accuracy on the 6 as well. It's mainly like a debuffer and something that's hard to kill, and anything along the lines on that for Figaro. Libli, I would say, is still one of the better bombers in offense out there. It's just not that common to use bombers these days, but if you use bombers, Libli is definitely still one of the better ones. I would argue that John is best bomber in game. Libli might be second best bomber in game. And most common build is just Fatal Will on him. If you put him on defense, you could fire him, but Fatal Will and then triple attack is the main way to go with like 35 accuracy. This thingy, I think I haven't seen her being used in quite a while, and in all honesty, I think she's just straight up bad. I don't really see the value in here. Jin goes straight to the build multiple. It's mainly because of the Jin Dova plus whatever nuker you want to go for. Most of the times that is illusion. Recommendation on the build of Jin is triple fight, therefore your Lucian does do more damage, but go for triple fight runes, which are your fast triple fight runes with a crit rate 4, attack 6, and a speed on the 2. And then crit damage low on him on the artifact, so he still has max crit rate. He can still follow up, like let's say that the enemy is super slow, it's some kind of shield trap kind of thing for your Lucian. Then he can still kill some things after that as well. But definitely he is as good as many as Dovas you have. Well, you could do it with a Tion as well. So Jin is definitely very, very good for that. Then we have this thing, which is a decent multi-hitter for PvE. It does have the perfect AI to always use a 5-time multi-hitter on the S3, but it's more niche. I've seen some people use it for Necro, but there's definitely way better units out there for Necro. So I'm just gonna put it over here. I don't even claim it as a niche. It's just that. Then we have, of course, OP PvE priority build right there on the Luna. Crazy good for damage. Since she is scaling from enemy max HP, I would highly recommend to focus more on the crit damage rather than on her attack, but attack is still fairly important. And outside of that, left side artifact is just whatever damage you want to do. Could be on fire, could be on water for both dragons and for giants. And that's the main places where you will use her, but she's crazy, crazy good, and I would definitely recommend to pull at least one. This thing, I've seen it being used for giving Katarina her skill. Is that niche for PvE for that reason? No, I would say that Nikasha probably does her job a little bit easier because Nikasha just drops the invisibility on whatever's lowest HP or something like that. So that's 100% a lot easier right there. It can be used, but it's easily replaced by another unit. Guillaume, I would say, is niche for PvP. Some people do tell me, yes, I've heard it a few times that people tell me it's like, oh, use this thing for the, what's it called? Temple of Chaos. But for Temple of Chaos, I think there's way better options in any shape or way or form. Like, even if you were to be fighting the light one, I could still argue that there's probably better damage dealers than him out there. Just his Fire Brother already does do way better. You can put it towards some siege defenses here and there. Most of the time it's just speed, crit damage, attack kind of build on him. But big issue he has is that Miying is a guaranteed crit anyway. So that just stretches through this unit. So therefore it becomes a little bit bad in a kind of way. Then we have, well, let's actually, I do value him higher than the others, though. Same for you, I do value higher than the others. Probably you even higher. Iona is more of just a siege offense unit if you do need a revive. It's one of the better revivers in game still for Net Force. Is it crazy good, though? No, it's not really an OP priority to build, I would say. It's a decent niche reviver, but I don't really claim it that crazy. Chris is, I would still say, pretty decent for siege offense. But would I say in current meta build multiple? Not really. Probably. Well, also like you have like the Agrius right now, and Agrius is just a lot better than Chris. And everywhere where you would like to use Chris, Agrius kind of shines a lot better. So I'm actually gonna be placing Chris for that reason in the niche rather than in the OP, mainly because of Agrius just being that crazy good. Some people might say it's like, oh, why do you put Chris in there? Chris is actually a really good unit. Agrius is just too good. That's just the main issue. Agrius is too good. Same for Bethany. I would still claim Bethany in the priority. I do think that a Bethany is better than a Chris in most cases. But then again, I don't really say build multiple. If you just build one or two or something, you're totally fine because, well, you still use Agrius a lot more. Sure, you can use a different booster on this. You can just go for Proline as a boost. So that's just an attack buff and a crit rate buff. But personally, I don't think you're going to be using that many of Bethany's these days. You could build multiple, but I think it's just an OP build one. And then you're probably good to go. You're not really going to be using that much more. This thing is, I think it's Ren, or the other one was Ren. Oh, wait, this is Pang. Pang is decent for PvE. Is it really crazy good? It's decent in both Steel Fortress and Punisher Script. It is also okay to use in, what's it called? R5. But is it crazy good in any of those? No, it's not really a best in slot. So it's just commonly just a full damage kind of build that you want to be placing on her. But that's as good as she gets. Like, I would definitely build one, but if you have better options for PC and SF already, it's kind of more towards niche rather than anything. But she can be used in multiple places. Then Ren is not really commonly used. It has some potential, but has, well, actually, it has some potential. It's an okay-ish damage dealer, but it's nothing really too crazy. Hellfast, I would definitely say priority for PvP. I would place it higher than all of the others. It's still a good light or like a good dark tank. If there's a dark unit, single target damage without any kind of shape or way of stripping you, then Hellfest is pretty good. And if you don't have any other options, Hellfest on defense is really good as well. Most of the time on Hellfest, you want to go 0 speed. You could go just super high HP. You could also go Despair, Revenge, or anything of that kind of shape or way. But you mainly want to aim lots of HP, lots of defense right there. Conrads. I would say Conrad is definitely still used in some siege offenses. I have seen it being used in siege defense as well. Most of the time, it is paired with a Robo that explodes himself. So there could be the light one, or could be the... Well, it's actually... No, not the light one. It's more common to have it next to the water Robo. Outside of that, I've seen some teams where they go for like a Theomars plus an Ophelia or something on the defense. Is an option. It's not really the greatest out there, but definitely do build one. Most of the time, it's just like speed, HP kind of build as like a fast build right there. Grego, I would say, is niche for about everything. Well, I would say niche PvP more than PvE. It's more of like if you need a light tank, then you kind of have like a decent light tank at him. And just build him on like a bruiser build. But personally, I pulled mine pretty late and I've actually never really used mine at all. So I'm gonna go for niche PvP right there. Diaz, I would say, is better because that is a it's just a better light tank in general because he has way more protection than a Grego has, so, or Grogo has, whatever this thing's name is. So I would definitely build one of the DSs, and it's definitely good. You can also use it towards R5 if you use just a slow team with an R5 because it has a resistance lead and it has some help in there as well. Oh, wait, I put double Kung Fu Girls in there. Interesting. Then we have, I think there was Sige, or the other one was Sige. I don't remember. These things are barely even used. They're just like both of them. They're just trying to nuke-ish, but neither of them really do a good job at it. I think from this family, the only one that's kind of doing good is the water one, but they're both trying to nuke, and they're not really great at that. Gemini, I actually give Gemini a lot of value. I think Gemini is really one of the best PvE or PvP units from the net force out there. A lot of people might say it's like, yeah, but Gemini always misses. Well, if Gemini has to strip and death break, yes, there is a double 85 chance to not land your, or like there's a double 85 chance to land, so a double 15 chance to not land. If you put a team where you go for Gemini and Tiana, your Gemini will be a speed lead and a Deathbreaker, and he is as good a Deathbreaker as like your Galleon or something like that. So I definitely do give Gemini a fair bit of credit for opening possibilities of having Deathbreak while also still stripping. That is like Deathbreak, strip, and speed leads. That is definitely a very loaded kit. So Gemini definitely has like a high priority for me to have built on any account. Corona is probably kind of, well, it's not commonly used, but you can use it as like a CC-ish kind of unit, I think. This thing in most cases, actually, by the way, I would just go triple fives on it. Dova, I would say, is niche for PvP. It is definitely not really that great, but you could use it as like a bomber. But is it really a great unit as a bomber? No, I would rather just go for Libli for bomb. Sure, his S3 has some more value for adding in more stuns later on, but if you land bombs, you're just more about just landing the bombs and match is over rather than trying to get some other shits and giggles into the match. This thing, Beering? I think it was Beering. I would say niche for PvP because it does have like the AoE silence. Oh wait, PvP is over there. Niche for PvP, it does have silence and it does have a good bit of multi-hit. So if you actually force him into good runes, can be your kind of strip of choice. But he's not really commonly used. But I could see him as like an AoE strip kind of unit with like multi-hits, additional damage artifacts. Kind of get your way in with there. Hwadam is not really commonly used these days in Siege offense. Most common Siege offense with Hwadam is probably Rakuni plus a Yen. But outside of that, haven't really seen it all too much at all. Maybe in lower ranks where people are fighting more bruiser fights, it's kind of more okay. But personally, Hwadam, I pulled it super late and I've actually never really used mine at all. Most of the time, just a full tank build is what you want to do on this unit. Mimir is definitely one of those units that I would say is good for offense, is good for defense. Definitely a unit you do want to use. Super common defense right now is still Mimir together with the Chilling and Kiglet, which is definitely strong. You can go for a full damage build on him. You can also just go for no crit rate and then super high HP and attack on him and a more of like shield sets. Lots of options out there. You can also, I've seen people put this on defense next to a Zhongsheng Lao and a Layla if you want to put it towards net 5s. There's definitely a few options where you can put this unit towards net 5 because of the speed lead as well. Plus he has pretty substantial good damage, so definitely it's worth to build multiple and give good runes too. Most of the time, I would say just build 2 and then use 2 on defense is an option. In offense, you probably have some better options, but I would definitely say build 2 and Jin is build more. But in strength-wise, I feel like Mimir has more value. Crosswell, or no, Crosswell, is that Crosswell? I don't remember which one this is. But he is okay-ish for a damage dealer if you want a full RNG, but not really a big fan personally. It's just one of those damage builds, which is not really that great. Berkey, I think that's Berkey. Is that Berkey? No, wait, Berkey is the wind one. This is just Berk or Big or whatever it is. Is niche in PvE and Steel Fortress, but there's better options right now for buff block, so he kind of lost his value in that altogether. Frigate is definitely still priority build for PvP. Definitely still good unit. Really depends what kind of playstyle you have, if you actually will use him a lot or will not use him a lot, but his speed boost that he has of 50% is still really strong, so I definitely can recommend to use that. Whatever team you want to use it, well, it could be together with like a Gemini to boost it up, it could be together with like any kind of boosters that you want to do and then still have some CC at the end, so definitely would say Frigate has a lot of value. In most cases, just full on speed and it's an offense kind of style unit, it's never on defense. Beta, I would also say, is still priority for PvP. Is mainly used in offense. I've seen some defenses out there where it's kind of used, but I guess that she's getting a little bit more niche as well. And a little bit less common use because we're not really using revives these days in bruisers anymore. But if you need a bruiser revive, she's definitely best reviver on the net force you have. She's better than Iona by far for revives right there. Most of the time just full on tanky build. Molly is, I would say, more of a niche PvP unit right now. It is, no, actually, I will still play it as like an OP build priority kind of unit. It is a very good dark tank. It's one of the better dark tanks that still provides a lot of value for the rest of your team. You can also place this in an offense next to a Douglas. So your Douglas has more chance to get in glanced. Therefore, your Douglas has more of a chance to actually get its counters in. So for that reason, I would say main times that I've used Molly in the last few years was next to Douglases. That's the main thing that I was using it. RTA, you're probably not really gonna see it that much anymore. So just gonna place it over there. I will place it a little bit higher though. I think I'll place it over there. Lucas is absolutely build priority for PvE. And his main job is Temple of Chaos and also Rift Beast, but also R5. And he's crazy good at it. Main thing about Lucas is you only need to have 70 crit rate, so he gets 30 crit rate from his passive. But every time that he does damage, according to that damage, he gets more shield. But since his shield is increasing every time you deal more damage, and therefore, because of your shield, you do more damage, it keeps stacking on. So the moment he has like a crazy good hit in, or while he will stack a crazy good shield, and because of the crazy good shield, he will start dealing more damage in the next round, and that kind of cycles on. There's a limit to that, but he's very good for that, for rocking in a lot of damage. So therefore, Temple of Chaos, absolute best in slot. So I would highly, highly recommend to build that unit right there. Iris, you could say build multiple, but I would say it's just the siege defense unit, and I would say it's probably not much, or like it's not crazy of worth these days. Like sure, next to a Sylphia, still really is strong on like Despair or even on Swift to trap things out to get a silence off. But it's not one of those units that you're going to see a lot on defense nowadays. But Iris is still, it's definitely still good to have an Iris build, that's for sure. Then we have Isabel, I would say is nice for siege offenses. There's definitely some ways that you can still use this next to, for example, a Gemini plus a booster. That is pretty common out there, and then she boosts herself, nukes one thing down, nukes the other thing down, kind of style like that. Is it something I personally use? No, I haven't used that in ages, but it's definitely something that in lower ranks I've seen a lot of people do some hits with Isabel, so it's definitely not a bad unit right there. Her light counterpart is never really used. I'm not really even sure what people would use that for. Then we have the Magic Mike on Dark. Magic Mike on Dark is also pretty bad. It doesn't really do any damage. It doesn't really do anything. Funny enough, in Chronicles, she's still one of the best units in game, but in this game, absolutely not really there. Carl is also... It can be an okayish damage dealer. It has some passive effects to ignore other passives or ignore death resistance, or it ignores a little bit of shit, but I don't even remember what it was. That's how bad it is, more or less. Ileana is definitely something that is still used for PvP. It can also be used in PvE in the Temple of Chaos, but it's just Temple of Chaos, so I think I prioritize the PvP part of her. And it can be used next to a Hanra, and there's like a Hanra plus Theon plus Ileana kind of siege offense. I've seen someone also play, like there was this Korean player in like the top 20 or top 30 of RTA also playing her. If it's really that kind of good, I don't really think so, but it does have some value where I would say it's like, yeah, she can be used here and there, but most commonly just a full-on support build right there. Armana, I would definitely say priority to build for PvE, but then we're mainly building it for just Labyrinth. That's the, well, R5, if you do a slower-ish R5, he's really good at R5 because of branding, death break, cleanses, healing, and everything. He's just missing the base stats. If he had better base stats, he would actually be a good unit for our like PvP scenarios as well, because his kit is super loaded. Big issue is, well, yeah, he doesn't have that. He's a 4-star. But then again, he's really a best in slot for your Labyrinth on the final boss stage, the Taurus thingy, whatever it's called. Because it's just a very simple way of getting a revive in, plus healing, plus cleansing, plus everything. Amduets, I definitely do still really like myself. Amduet, I would actually say Amduet goes all the way over here, because Amduet, out of all of these units, I can see being used in RTA. If there's something on the enemy side with a lot of anything that takes a lot of turns, Amulet can go for a cut. His strip rate is a little bit on the low side, but he can also do good damage on a crit rate on a 4 because he's pretty much full speed scaling. Also, Amulet on defense is still one of the better defense units out there. Plus, he's an HOH unit, so he's one of the easily obtained unit. I would say for arena defense, did I just say siege defense? He's good in arena defense. Arena defense is definitely one of those free-to-play arena defense. If you need anything to start cutting Tianas or that kind of thing, Amduat is your guy. And Amduat, because of that's really good. Most common build is Despair, crit rate, plus HP, I would say. Misty is still really good in RTA as well. I can see Misty being good in some siege offense. If you want a bruiser siege offense, I can definitely see worth in Misty as well. Most common build is Vampire, Speed, HP, HP or Speed, crit rate, HP. I personally prefer Speed, HP. HP affects a lot of damage from your artifacts rather than going for crit rate. Crit rate is only good if you are planning to hit very often on death breaks. If you're not planning to hit on death breaks all the time, he hasn't a death break set up himself on the S2, but you probably have noticed his rate is kind of low on landing that. So therefore I like the Speed, HP more. Dova, my good old friend. As many Jins as you have, as many Dovas you want, or as many Miranes you have, Dova's just crazy good. I would even place that above that because Dova has just so much value for boosting up your illusions or boosting up whatever. Like, you could boost up so many things with ignore defense with this thing. Dova is just crazy good. Plus 105 base speed, plus easy to skill up, plus everything. Very, very good unit right there. Dusky is something I have seen being used in PvP in RTA for people that do like to go for a whole comp with like a Rogue, Elsharian, Dusky, blah, 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 that kind of shit. I think it's more niche than anything good. So for that reason, I placed Dusky over here. Sure, it can kind of work, but it's not really crazy good. Elven Ranger, I would say, is build one for siege offense. You can use it in RTA, not really a big RTA fan out of it, but it is definitely one of those counter units which is not that bad to have in your repertoire, just to add in a lot of dots to the enemy and be annoying that kind of shape and way. Tableau is definitely still really, really good for, I would say mainly, no, actually I'm going to put Tableau on the 3rd spot. Am I going to put Tableau on the 3rd spot? No, I'm going to put Tableau on the 2nd spot. Tableau is mainly good for, well, you can actually use Tableau in some arena offenses as well. There are some creative ways where you go for a Swift Tableau and then you reset it with a Jemire, and then you have like 2 units move in the middle that move 4 times or something crazy like that with like ignore defense on speed buffers, or there's a lot of options that you could go with Tableau. Tableau is a very creative unit. You can still use it in RTA. It's not super commonly used in RTA, but there's still a lot of ways to go for Tableau. He's either Swift or Vio. Speed, HP, HP. You want to have high accuracy and then additional damage artifacts is the main way to go. Monty used to be siege defense material, but right now he's often more healing the enemy on the S3 than he's actually dealing damage on the S3. It is an option if you have absolutely nothing else for siege defense, but he's not really like crazy good at it. I would say siege defense, there's not too many units good at siege defense, and he has some value for siege defense, so therefore he has some up in there. But he's getting more towards niche than actually really good, I would almost say. Like, he almost falls off to just niche. No, I'll just put him all the way at the back over there. Then we have Dova. Was actually used for a PvE team in Dragons for a bit. Can see it being used for R5, but it's not super common. It does have damage enemy max HP, but there's definitely better options out there. Bailey is, I think, the only free-to-play unit in game that has a self-attack buff on a nuking kind of style of unit, which is definitely unique in that sense. It's kind of a like a very hard downgraded version of a talisman, but therefore it does have some availabilities for that you can go for, let's say, a Gemini plus just a booster and then this thing, and then you already have your hard hit in AoE. Is it really crazy good? Not really in current state, but there's definitely some options that you could go for. Her plus a better Deathbreaker plus a Chiwu and an Asher or something, and then you can make that move for an AO. Is it really that crazy good? Not really, but it's you have some options out there with her because of it. So I'm gonna be placing her over there. I'm actually going to be placing you up a little bit more because of defense value. How far do we go up? I think I go up as far as this. Then we have this one. She creates some dots and that kind of stuff as a twin. Strips and dots, not really needed, so I'm just gonna place her over there. Martina. Martina is still usable in, I would say, arena defense. It's definitely not bad to go for Shaina Martina on arena defense still. It's not gonna bring you G3, but it's definitely gonna do decent in lower ranks because it is pretty common for people to Feng Yang you. And this is one of those units that can actually kill a Feng Yang pretty decently. Can also be used in PvP, so I would definitely say still definitely do build her. Siege offense, if you're fighting anything bruiser, it is still really strong as well. Maybe not in the absolute highest rank that you're really seeing her being used that much, but I actually give her highest value over all of these units, mainly because she also has PvE value that you could throw it at the dragons, or you could throw it at like an R5 or anything like that. So there's definitely, or Steel Fortress, she's also pretty substantial in Steel Fortress, so I definitely give her a lot of credits for that. Not just the PvP value, but also PvE value in that. Main thing that you want to do is high co-op damage. Co-op damage is by far the best you can do, and then you could go crit damage 4, you could also go more tanky. There's a lot of options that you could build around fire or something. Valyrian is actually something that I quite low rated last year. Now I've seen a bit more people pick that up in RTA and also in Siege here and there, so I'm definitely gonna give it quite a bit more value. It's mainly an RTA unit for the bruiser units that also like to, or like a bruiser players that also like to go along the lines of like Gapsos and that kind of shit. Just to throw back Oblivions, or just to be annoying with shields and healing and Angelas and blah blah blah. On a tanky Fio build is what you're going for. Air Knight is, it has some potential by doing a unique thing where you actually slap yourself and then some interactions can happen, but is it really good? Not really. Hyannis, however, is definitely a very high value for me. And that's mainly because of the Siege offense team with Hyannis, Verrat, plus Dark Homunculus. It is legit one of the better Siege offenses in the current meta, I would say. So definitely do use it for that. Full and Swift, additional damage, artifacts, max accuracy is all you need on her. But that's a really, really strong team right there. Tresar is kind of a weaker-ish Gogo, I would say. Can be used as like a dark tank slash AoE damage dealer, but not really a big fan of it. Emily is that used anywhere? It was used a little bit for siege defense for a while, but it kind of fell out of the siege defense meta already as well. So can still be used for siege defense, but not really a common big fan of it, I would say. Magnum. I'll give Magnum a niche in PvP. Wait, why are you niche in PvP? You're niche in PvE. I replaced that one at the wrong thing. Niche PvE. Magnum is going to be, yeah, niche PvP. He is good into teams in Siege the moment that they start throwing like Pontus and Katarinas at it, but you don't really see those that common. But if they go like chilling, Pontus, Katarina, Magnum absolutely is your friend. Outside of that, he's not used as much, but he can be pretty decent at that as well. Dragunov is kind of bad, like he doesn't really have that much value in the first place at all. It's like one of those units, he remains in stance or something if he already kills something, or he gets like extra bar or something. I don't even remember, but this unit don't really use it. Gargoyle has some potential, like if this thing gets hit, they do go for cooldown increases, but doesn't really add that much. Onyx was crazy good for a bit when he started off in the stone form. Currently, it no longer does that, so therefore he needs to take a turn, and therefore he kind of loses his value for just being annoying and that kind of stuff, so let's put it over there. This one is definitely a priority for PvE, but then we're looking at a priority for TOA. It's crazy, crazy good in TOA, because this unit plus her Wind Sister on a full tanky build will destroy all of the TOA kind of units. So she's absolutely really, really good in the PvE scenario right there. Well, Mirene, I don't think I have to say much. Mirene is absolutely one of the best Net 4s, also the most sought out copies of Net 4s. It is just crazy good to do a lot of damage in siege nuking and that kind of stuff. This one, I think it's some dub provider. I don't even remember, but he probably bad. I've never seen anyone use it. Clyde, I've seen some people use in siege offense. It's getting less common though, so I'm just gonna place it over here, but it's most of the time it was next to like the Camilla plus Belial kind of comp, but you can place so many things next to that. But Clyde is definitely one of those units as a tanky build you can place next to it. Leia still has a good bit of value for for arena offense and also potentially siege offense, like Gemini plus like a Kali or something plus her. Does do a good bit of damage. Leia also still does do good damage in arena offense, but I would say a Zyros definitely outshines her. Like maybe Zyros does do a little bit less damage, but just having the value of the reset already definitely outshines her. But Leia still definitely a good unit. Can be used in PvE as well if you're going for just a whatever rune team and then just throw whatever runes at it. She can be used in there, but it's not really crazy recommended because she doesn't always start off with the S2. Varisa, I think that she is pretty nice for siege offense nowadays. If you want like an AoE strip kind of style of siege offense, she's good. Siege defense can also see her working. So I think Varisa is definitely pretty legit in current state of the game. Most of the time just built on Despair. Yeah, Despair, speed, HP, accuracy, or speed, HP, or something like that. Light Robo, most commonly used for some kind of nuking teams. It's not bad. You can also just go for like a Robo plus a Tiana plus a Truffle against slower teams if you have a really good damage on your Tiana and on your Robo. That's definitely an option right there. Is it crazy good though? It's okay. It's definitely not bad. Siege defense, not that much. RTA, I've seen some people use it here and there as well. So it has a little bit of uses in multiple places. So I'm going to put the Robo over there. Dark Robo, I wouldn't say build multiple. You could build multiple if you want to use it for siege offense. No, I would say build multiple if you're planning to use multiple, but there's definitely, you can still go for the double Robo plus like a Tyron team, which is definitely not bad. And it's also really, really good in PvP in general. So Robo, I would say build multiple of the Robo. The main thing is you want to make sure that you have very good additional damage artifacts, max accuracy, and then high stats. Could be Despair, could be Fire, could be Swift. Any of those kind of things are fine. Kinky. Do we still build multiple Kinkies? There are a few Kinky hits out there. Kinky is, for example, a Agrius tank. That is a possibility. Agrius most of the time doesn't really have that much firepower to kill Kinky. So I would say Kinky, definitely build multiple of it. You can use them in siege offense, but it's not really giving a crazy shine. So I'm going to put him all the way down over there, but still build multiple. Light Hammer Girl, I would say, is very strong for PvE, mainly because of the, Temple of Chaos on your Katarina team. And you can also use it in more like TOA or COA or whatever kind of style. So definitely would recommend to build her. Deborah, ooh, big question. Do we put Deborah all the way at top of PvE or do we put that all the way top? No, I think I'm going to put that all the way top of PvE. She's definitely one of the better PvE units out there for, I would say if we look strictly at what dungeons is she used, it is R5 and Giants and Temple of Chaos, and that is about it. But then again, R5 and Giants are most likely the things that people run the most, so I give her a lot of credit for that. Most of the time, it's just like a whatever build triple fight. You can still add some damage stats to her, but she's really good. I would still say I value Lucas a little bit more. Like, not having a Lucas on an account with the new Temple of Chaos content is, in my opinion, more annoying than not having a Deborah. Because Deborah, you can find some replacement. Lucas is kind of hard to replace. This thing is the new current Age of Age, or Age of Age. HOH, and he pretty ass. Like, I think he's the one that heals. I don't even remember what these shits do, but that just means if I don't remember what the shit does, he's ass. This one is niche for PvP because if you sleep, enemy sleeps, he can go for a pretty hard hit. Haven't seen one being used in a while in defense, but I can still see that kind of in like a fun-ish offense next to, let's say, like a Praha or like whatever sleep or like a Shihua or something like that. But it's more PvP niche than anything, and I'll just place it right there for that reason. Fudge, I would definitely say, is a priority for PvE, and then we're just talking subjugation and time attack in Labyrinth. It is not many places, but it's still best in slot in that. I would argue that the fire one is better at its job, but it's still definitely a unit I would recommend to build for these PvP or PvE things. Truffle is still one of the better obtainable AoE death breaks in game because of the multi-hit and the pushback that he provides. So I'm going to be placing him all the way over here. Can be used in arena offense, can be used in siege offense. Both of them, it's pretty substantial there. Defense, not really, but he has definitely high value in the other two. Would not really build multiple of it, though. This is also a really good death break. It's a little bit less commonly used nowadays. Before, it was nice to have like resets in, and then also the S2 was a good Camilla cleanup. I can still see it being used for arena offense, but siege offense maybe not as much, and I would definitely value Truffle higher than Jasmine at the moment. So, but it's still a pretty substantial death breaker right there, so I'll give her value in that. Most of the time also just a triple fight build for her. This one, I've seen some people say that she was decent with her skill set, but to be honest, I've seen some people say it's decent, but I've never actually seen someone use it. So I'm gonna say it's not commonly used, but might have some potential style. Then we have this one, which is the low rate of double turn stun, but therefore it can also be resisted. I'm just gonna put that towards bad. This thing is bad in my opinion. No, it's just bad like this. This bike thing, also bad. Danu is niche for PvP. Yeah, I'll give it a niche for PvP. I would not really say like a prio build for PvP. It's just a niche build for PvP. Additional damage artifacts. He can do a good bit of multi-hits, and he can do some occasional damage, but he's not really crazy. Vitra is something that we used to see a lot more on siege defense. Nowadays, it's a little bit less common on siege defense because you got other better options out there. So I think I'll place it somewhere in the pile. Yeah, it's kind of like Monty-ish level, style-ish, whatever. Then we have these things over here. What do we have for those? Also, units you don't really see too much, like both of them. Like, sure, you can maybe use them, but they're not really used at all. Fiona is still one of the better siege defense units out there, arguably. Yeah, I would say build multiple. You can definitely build multiple of her. It's kind of mirror level. It's like, if your guild uses a lot of these, it's nice. If your guild uses a lot of these, it's nice. Some people might say it's like, oh, she has no damage, just go speeds with HP on additional damage artifacts, or you can go speed crit rate HP or something like that. She's not like a super high damage, but she can rock some damage with the additional damage artifacts. That's the main thing. This is like a fake Hagen thing, so she goes in the can be replaced by another unit kind of style. This one is a really good tank to tank dark things, because if she gets a death break, it will feel as a death buff, which is definitely nice against death breakers on dark. But how good is that in value? I would say kind of Clyde-ish, similar levels, just decent of a tank right there. Roberta is, I would say, niche in PvE. Like, she's trying to kind of become a Luna, but she's still not really. Like, sure, some COA stages she does do a little bit better than Luna, but I give her a niche in PvE. Itadori on lights is also not really used that much. I haven't really seen anyone use that unit at all. Maybe has some potential, but I haven't really seen that being used at all. Same with this one over there. Tanjiro Dark is definitely a good one, but it does have the Irresistible. Irresistible is pretty nice next to a few units, but I haven't really seen myself use multiple of it. I haven't even really used the first one of it that much. But if you place that next to, let's say, a Tiana plus Tanjiro plus a Poseidon or something, it's very likely for your Poseidon to also land the pushbacks, which is pretty nice right there. So arena offense, siege offense, those kind of styles, Dark Tanjiro can be pretty nice. Nezuko Light, never really seen this unit. I have seen this one being used a little bit for his stun potential, but also not really. This one is straight up bad. I've really never seen that one. Same for that one over here. Similar to these, like all of these, like you barely ever see them, so it just makes sense that they're really bad. Same as you. Sure, a lot of multi-hits, but doesn't really add into it. You do have Oblivion though, so I would say build 1. If he gets a buff, he might be nice. He does have the speed lead, so he does have potential to be good. But for now, he doesn't really have that much of value or shine, because there's just other better defense units out there. Like, I've seen some people try it, but thus far, I'll give him some value because a defense lead is kind of niche. Maybe I'll put him all the way over here. No, I feel like that these two speed leads just have way more value. I'm just gonna put him over there or something like that. It's an okay-ish defense unit, but don't really see the value of him just yet. Dark one is pretty bad, and then we have the Light Jin, which is actually pretty nice unit for locking down enemies. Can be used siege offense, could be used RTA, not really recommended in there, but mainly siege offense kind of style. And then I would say I place that along the lines of this. So these are all of the units. Once again, a whole bunch of units at the bottom that I just pretty much never used. You're never really going to see them that much. And I try to place them from left to right of my recommendation of like what I feel like is stronger for, or like from stronger to less strong right there. And this is going to be the whole tier list. Once again, as always, in the comments, you can agree or disagree. You're very allowed to disagree. Thanks for watching, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.